Okay, let's go outside again. And it's going to be very windy outside because there's a storm. You can hear my dog Patch running around. But it's a beautiful day other than the wind. And I'd like to take you with me on this windy walk. So, in today's episode, I'd like to talk about energy first. And it's a really interesting experience and synchronicity with the wind, I guess. As we learn to work through our lives and work through the relationships with others, the relationships with ourselves, we learn that people lie and people also lie to themselves. And lie can be a very strong word, but I think intentions are perhaps a more accurate way of thinking about it. So an intention can be anything from a very negative intention through to an incredibly positive intention. And I love that in this human journey we get to experience, the dark, the light, and everything in between, that whole rainbow, that whole spectrum. And what I felt more and more recently is that the universe is created through energy first, and that energy flows through matter, and that it can also create matter and destroy matter. However, energy never ends. It can be transmuted, a bit like a car has an engine. It uses fuel, it turns the fuel into momentum, movement into sound and heat. But the energy that it's using from the fuel, the often fossil fuel or from electricity, is something that energy goes on and on. And so when a car drives past you, you feel the sound, you feel its wind that it creates, it goes past you. And it's really interesting when you think about nature. Nature is full of energy as well. So there's the sun energy that's coming through from the center of our solar system and touches all of us through the daytime, and it helps plants and everything, including ourselves, grow. And what's also beautiful in that experience is that the intention of that energy is really creative. The sun energy, sun goes through a cycle, just like any star, from birth to death. And through its creative phase, it is doing nothing but providing beautiful creative energy, love. It's helping us grow and sustain everything on this planet. And so let's talk again about people. When I talk about myself, I found it really interesting that in my life, as I've 4 years ago stepped into this world of creating a song every day, that I realized very quickly that the intention, even in the early stages of my awakening, the intention is everything, and that there was no point in embarking on this mission to seek out the traditional aspects of such journeys like money or fame. I'm okay with those. They'll come if and when they should, if and when I'm ready for them. But the main intention for me was to really set a goal. I wanted to have a clear mission, and so I asked my guides. I said, "What is my mission in this earth?" And they, over about 2 or 3 days, kept repeating to me, "It's to raise vibrations. It's to raise vibrations of every living thing." And so every heart will be benefited by helping its vibrations raised. So I thought that was really exciting, and that it still is. It's still an amazing journey. It's pretty open. Its intention is very vague, but it's also somewhat specific. I don't think this mission will be required forever. I think that it will be required for as long as we need to raise our vibrations, and that as this planet goes through these new energies, through these new areas of space and time, as it experiences new galactic energies, that as part of that we will experience such massive changes in our planet. So a lot of people talk, or used to talk, about the event. I think more people talk about 3D and 5D and the kind of separation, or like timeline separation of the planet into two different frequencies, and this is where the kind of higher frequencies break away. So the pure intentions, those that seek to equality, love, compassion, creativity, equality, like these are for me very high vibration, service to others frequencies. And then there's lower aspects that we all experience, including greed, selfishness, wanting to control everything that's around us, and wanting to really compete and win over others. And that is that over time those two frequencies will become so much further apart that our timelines and our frequencies actually separate. But it's not a one-way door. Like, I think once as it happens, and I feel like it's happening now, I feel like there's been times, for instance during lockdown in the last couple of years in Scotland, where I've just felt like I'm just having the time of my life, like creating every day. And I think I created around 50 albums during those 2 years. And just that, going inside and seeing what I really want out of life, it changed so much of me. And so I feel very lucky, I feel very blessed. I know many people have had a very difficult time. They've had a difficult time financially and still do. And uncertainty and breakups in relationships and all kinds of challenges. So I'm very grateful to still have abundance and happiness through this time. So going back to frequencies, I feel that each frequency has its own vibration, that the energies, the frequencies, these, and dimensions as well, these are all just different ways of expressing really the same thing. And that same thing is that at the core of it all in this universe is energy. Energy comes first. Energy is created first. Energy resonates infinitely. And so when we concentrate now on our thoughts and feelings, when we have a specific thought, we actually create in this reality energy. That our thoughts, our feelings are energy. And I think we could do an entire podcast just on emotions and where they sit in this reality. However, I feel that for this simplicity, for this conversation, we'll describe them as sitting out in the kind of ether, and that as you have an emotion, it is your consciousness's reaction to something inside or something outside of you. As you go through this journey, your emotion creates an energy wave. So let's take a negative energy. If you're having a negative feeling or thought about someone else, in that instant you create an energy wave, and that energy wave resonates out across this universe. I hope the wind picks up as I say that. Very dramatic. And when we realize this, that negative energies can be created like I see it like dropping a droplet of water or an object into a very still pond and just still water, and when we do that, the ripple effect, it just goes on and on and on, like it just never ends. And so that experience of the universe, of your consciousness creating this energy wave, is that it just keeps going, it never stops. Now, when you think of someone, imagine there is no 3D reality, there's no physical matter around you. You are just floating, every living thing is just floating in this big empty void in the universe. And as you send out this energy wave, it just ripples through and through until eventually it touches this person. It doesn't just touch that person that you're thinking it about, it touches everything around you. It is absorbed by, when we bring into that void the 3D world around us, matter and atoms being like kind of sponges for energy, and they interact with energy. That energy is absorbed. It doesn't disappear, it stays. So one way of thinking about this is tape theory, and I used to be a big ghost hunting fan, still ghost hunt sometimes, although I guess it's less hunting now, more just seeing. So yeah, tape theory is about, often the example used is old stone walls. So imagine a house, and I've certainly lived in them, a house that is maybe 150 years old, and it has something like, especially a porous stone, like limestone, sandstone. And what happens is you have an emotion, you have a thought, a feeling, and it could be very dramatic. It could be a party, it could be very happy, it could be a birth, or it could be something very negative like a murder, or something very sad like a bereavement. And the energy waves that resonate from that human's consciousness, that they travel out and are caught by the walls of the building. And so then what happens is they're absorbed into the walls. And so this kind of stone tape theory is that stone absorbs the kind of psychic energy. And then when it's quiet at night, everyone's in bed, sometimes this energy is released. So it could be, the scream of joy or the scream of fear of someone, as the energy builds up sufficiently or is triggered to release. It's not conscious, but it is energy. So that's certainly a fascinating aspect. So now let's talk more about the current world. So fast forward to today, there's a lot going on in the world, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of people starting to wake up in so many different ways, and I think in ways that no one really expected. We see in particular perhaps what we used to call like a truth movement, people becoming aware of the potential and the reality of many conspiracies around us in this world, and conspiracies becoming truth or becoming their truth. At the forefront of these awakenings are the realization that there's no love in a government system, there's no love in the idea of a system that controls people. And now that these systems are stretching out to affect our daily lives, ranging from lockdowns to any aspect of your health. And I don't need to go into these words, these trigger words, but there are there is control over, there is almost like a fight to control your health and to bring the systems from just being almost like fences that sit around us on the outside of us, for those systems of control to now step into our daily lives, to step into how close we are with other people, even whether we can see their facial features, or, well, you know the rest. You're living it in your own way. And going back to the point of control and love, when you create a system of control, it's actually very difficult to maintain. And the reason is that we've seen throughout history and in our own lives that really love is the most powerful aspect of our worlds, and we will tolerate, for instance, we will tolerate to the extent the manipulation of us where our love is used against us. And so an example of this, it's a paraphrased quote from the movie The Green Mile, where throughout history love is used against us, our love for each other. And what's fascinating about that is that as a control mechanism, what we see that to protect each other, we have to stay away from each other. And even in those words, as I speak them, kind of sends a bit of a shiver down my spine. And you quickly realize that just can't last forever. It's actually pretty short-lived, and it doesn't matter what the narrative is that's made up around you. People are we're human beings, we're souls living out these human lives, and the more we're separated for longer periods of time, the unhappier many people are. Not everybody, I suspect. Some people, including me, at times have really enjoyed the hermit aspects, but in the main it's not good for humanity to be separated. And so what we see is that people start to wake up to the fact that love is much more a part of their daily lives, and perhaps they realize much more important than really anything. And so when a system of control is trying to hold you back and say to you, look, you have to do these things where you have to protect your other loved ones, you have to get tests, you have to isolate, that you realize quickly that the feeling of control has a different resonance to the feeling of really unconditional love. And like when I was creating songs very recently in December, although I followed my mission like it's it's my goal every day to raise vibrations of billions of hearts, I can't do it from lack. And the reason I can't create from lack, I can't achieve my mission from a position of lack, is because when my fears of lack have been things like not having enough subscribers, not having enough views, not reaching enough people, questioning my mission. How can I raise vibrations of billions of hearts if I don't touch enough people? What am I doing wrong? Why am I not talented enough? These are all kind of fear-based feelings of lack, and it's exhausting. It is a never-ending path of exhaustion. And I had some great advice from a friend, take a break. I took a week off for the first time in almost 4 years of writing a song every day. And when I did, when I came back to it, something changed in me. I realized that as I create, I encode my music with love. I encode it with happiness, with high vibrations. And that an expression I heard from a friend recently, healed people heal people, healed people heal people. And so just thought I'd repeat because there's traffic. What's amazing about that is that you realize that from a position of abundance, you're able to continue to resonate that abundance. And as you resonate the abundance in the work you do, so as you create, whether you draw, whether you sing, you write music, you dance, really whatever you do, but as you create, you are creating a vehicle for your emotions to travel further, to be amplified, to be focused. You're setting an intention with me, it's the notes I play and the words I sing and the way I sing them and the feeling that I put into it. That is so much more important than really any other aspect of it. And so when we listen to our hearts and our bodies and think about what changes are happening in the world, we feel them physically. So we feel, let's imagine in an example, you're watching mainstream news. I really don't watch it anymore, but imagine you are, and there's a man there telling you, you're male or female and anything in between, but this example it's a man, and they're saying to you, you must do as I say. You must separate from your family if you have these symptoms. And so their intention and the intentions of their actions, like the collective intentions of their actions behind them. So it's not just the individual, but what leads up to that. So imagine their energy is like a volcano, and so underneath that single action, those short words that they're telling you, there is an entire volcano, a whole planet of intentions behind it. And even if you put on top of a volcano, I don't know, let's use an analogy like an ice cream. Let's say you put an ice cream on top of a volcano, it melts pretty quick. You might try and taste it for a millisecond and think that it's sweet, but actually it's just a raging inferno. And so when someone's trying to tell you something and that it's for your own good and it's for your best intentions, and that their intentions, the implication is that their intentions are to help you, protect the lives of you and your family, you're listening to it thinking, well, how does that feel? For me, I imagine always surrounding myself in a golden light. It's like a golden light that exists in all of us, and I just expand it out like a bubble around me. And then as we receive interactions through our day, so in this case we're watching someone on TV, the energy from their intentions comes through our physical form. And the incredible thing about the human body is the human body communicates with you. So it can say things like, well, for me, if it's something negative, I get almost like a stabbing pain in my stomach, and it's a really quick twinge. It's very easy to think that it is purely physical, like maybe it's what I have for lunch, or maybe it's just maybe I was doing too many sit-ups yesterday. But the reality is you start to feel this feeling, and if you listen to it, how does that feel? Someone's telling you that something they believe, they're trying to convince you is very positive, the words are positive, they might be telling you about your family who you deeply love, that resonates with you. And so it's really important to listen to that intuition, to that feeling, and it's not logical. We're really, especially in our Western cultures, we're often taught to, not everywhere, but we're often taught to just suppress intuition. So, how could a pain in your stomach know whether this person is telling you the truth or not? Surely that's not real. And so that programming, you just disconnect it. You just say, well, there's my body doing that strange thing again, and it doesn't really matter. it doesn't really matter what they're saying. You're just disconnecting from that. And when you listen with the mind, your logical mind, the words can make perfect sense. And then let's take it a step further. You're listening to someone on the news and they're telling you the story about what you should do. And you can then ask your heart. And so the human heart, there's lots of theories, and I think some science too, to back up that you think with your hearts. In fact, I'm sure, I might be wrong, but I'm sure the Victorians used to believe, that's not that long ago, that you thought with your heart and that your brain was for cooling blood. But in terms of how I feel about my heart, I feel like it is another aspect of my consciousness that I can tap into. And so what I do is I can ask my heart questions. So I'll say things like, how does that feel? You know, is this the truth I'm hearing? Or what are the intentions of this person? And your heart, if you practice this, you can practice it by just breathing, taking a short breath while you're watching something. If you wish, you could put your hand on your heart. And when you do that, just listen. You'll get a very clear sense of yes or no. You know, ask yes or no questions, because they'll give you a much higher chance of being able to hear the answer clearly. And what does it sound like? Well, it doesn't sound like a voice necessarily, but it'll be a feeling, and the feeling will come from your heart. And the heart's discernment is one of the most beautiful gifts we have. It allows us to navigate every energy in every dimension of this universe, and to discern whether energy that is coming towards us, the intentions from another energy or entity, are true. And so, yeah, you can sit there, watch TV, listen to your heart, and if it doesn't resonate with you, then your action is then your decision. You know, it's very easy to sit there and just kind of go along with what everyone else is saying, even though your heart's saying no and your gut is saying no, this is not good. Or it might be saying yes, this is good. And I've definitely had lots of kind of mixed beliefs through the last couple of years. And I think some of that is because we've also, or at least I have, been, you know, traversing through different timelines. For myself, I feel like I'm stepping into my highest timeline, and as I get there, I go through this journey of being able to, the truth about things like, you know, the global changes have also changed behind them. So it's coming into a windy patch now and almost at the end, so I just wanted to recap and say, for me, I feel like this universe is energy first, and that our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our intentions resonate like waves. And as we go through this journey, it's really important to remember this, to take responsibility and to be conscious of our thoughts and our feelings. And listen to your gut, listen to your body, listen to your heart. Ask it questions. Also take time to meditate each day and ask your guides questions. You can get a lot more detail just meditating for 5 minutes and then just say the question out loud and then write down the answer or record it. And I feel as we navigate through this ever-changing world, these gifts that we all have that are within us and just need a little bit of practice to waken them up are super important. So yeah, I hope this podcast finds you well. Thank you for bearing with me through the wind. I love that it's about energy and the wind, and it's been flowing through me and the patches we've walked. And I hope that you enjoyed this. Please do share it. Send me your comments, and I look forward to sharing with you again. Sending the love from Scotland. I love you very much. Thank you.